So it is 12:02, so we will get started. Thank you all for joining us. Um, this is our first in our series of Level Up, and this month, we are talking about CRM data hygiene, in particular, duplicate management, duplicate removal strategies. So thank you so much for joining us. A couple housekeeping items. We are recording the session, so we will send out the recording, any links that we kind of talk about after the fact, and so you're able to share this with colleagues, and for those folks that were signed up and not able to join us. So I will start at introductions, and I will turn it over to Christine for an introduction.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. Hi, I'm Christine Robertson. I am the consulting manager here at NPact. I work primarily with Razor's Edge customers and helping maximize data use. So that becomes a lot of different things depending on the needs of each organization. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm happy to work with customers all over. Kevin, I'll pass it back to you.
Awesome. My name's Kevin Wood, business development manager here at NPact. I spent 15 years in the nonprofit world as a database manager for a couple different verticals. And I joined NPact about just starting my third year. So I've been a Razor's Edge consultant and just moved into this business development role. One more housekeeping item I forgot. Make sure you guys use the chat. I love to see all the introductions, but also if you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the chat. We'll be monitoring on the side and have save time at the end to answer any questions that come up. Cool. So let me jump into the agenda for today. We are talking about duplicate record management. So it's a very specific topic, but as database managers or as data managers, it is such a frustrating thing and an evergreen topic that we're always going to have to address. So the goal for today is just to talk about a few strategies. And we are going to be talking about both Razor's Edge and Virtuous. So if we may have RE and may have Virtuous users in here. So we're going to see examples in both. But the ideas that we talk about can kind of go just about for any CRM in terms of how we manage our duplicates. Cool. All right. So why does duplicate management matter? These ideas are kind of all closely related. But the biggest thing that I think a reason why it matters is to save our time. We all have just a certain number of hours that we're working in a week. So the less time that we can devote to finding specific records in our database, the better. When we're entering GIFs and we are looking for someone and we see the same record pop up or the same name pop up 6 different times because we have duplicate records, we are spending a bunch of time kind of going through and finding the right record. So time savings, absolutely. Cost savings. When we go to send out a mailing list, it looks horrible and it's a waste of money when we send 4 magazines to the same house or even to the same person at the same house. So we're going to help save money on that end as well. And that kind of goes into kind of 3 and 4 together. Building confidence within our office is such a difficult kind of struggle that we have, especially new to the role, if we're new to our role as a database manager. So we do all this work to help build up our confidence of the data that we're sharing internally with our folks. And we send off a mailing list to our boss or to our development director when they go and look at it and they see 5 Kevin Woods in the list. It really does knock confidence. And externally, when we talk about stewardship, if one of our VIP donors gets the same magazine 3 times because they hit the list 3 different ways, it really does affect their relationship with your organization.
Absolutely. So rather than us just tell you what duplicates look like, we thought it might be fun. I don't know, maybe pop quiz is not anyone's idea of fun, but we thought it might be fun to move from here into a bit of a quiz where we're going to show you a couple of records side by side, and we're going to pop a poll up on the screen, and you'll have the choice to vote whether or not these records are duplicates. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up that first slide and our first poll. So here we have Terry Jones on the left, Gretchen Jones on the right. Go ahead and take a look and vote in your poll.
We always start the poll with we always start the quiz with the easiest question.
So yeah, so people are still voting, so I'll give it just a second. But some of you are changing your answers, I think, because they're moving up and down a little. So, all right, we have about 75% of you who are saying these are not duplicates, and about 20. Okay, you're changing the numbers on me as I'm speaking.
More
But
people voting. Yeah, we're good.
yeah, we're still voting, so I should quit answering while I'm voting. Okay, I'll go ahead and give a final total. 69% of you said no, these are not duplicates, and 31% of you said yes, they are. Now, I will tell you my answer for this would be no, they are not. And my reason for that is Terry and Gretchen are two completely separate people. They may be married per our screen. They may share a checking account, but they may be very much connected to my organization in two different ways. Terry might be the one who signs the check. Gretchen might be a volunteer who spends hours in our office. Now, as I say that, I do understand sometimes if you're worried about record counts, maybe you would want to put a spouse as a non-constituent on a record. So in that case, you might actually merge it. But I would challenge you to say they're not technically duplicates because they really are two different people. So let's go ahead. We'll end that poll, share the results, and let's move to our next screen. So here we've got two different records. And again, same question. Are they duplicates? Yes, no, or unknown? I'll just give you a second there while you're making your decisions. All right, so this one we have a little bit more of a split. 25% of you did say yes, that these are duplicates. About 57%, 55%, the numbers are still moving a little bit, are saying no, they are not duplicates. And another 23% of you are saying unknown. So these are really close. And there is only one feature that I would point to be really careful with when we decide whether or not they're duplicates. And that is if you look at the end of the blue hyperlink, the first row says John W. Smith Jr., and the second row says John W. Smith III. They do live at the same address and everything else is identical, but that suffix difference would incline me to vote no, because either there's a big issue in our data and we've coded the suffix wrong on something, or they really are father and son and not the same person. Great votes though, everybody. Thank you so much. All right, let's do our next poll. So here we have Mr. Chris P. Bacon and Mr. Christopher Bacon. So let's go ahead and let's vote again, whether or not we think that these two records are duplicates. And I do want to give credit. The name Chris P. Bacon is something I've borrowed from a former colleague of mine. So I did not come up with the name, but I always enjoy using it.
It also makes me hungry. It's lunchtime here.
Exactly. So we are all unanimous on this one. This absolutely is a duplicate. Before we go to our next screen, I do want to mention something. This is a screenshot from Virtuous. And as I was creating this duplicate record, I attempted to add the exact same email address to both records. And Virtuous will not let me. It prevented us from adding that duplicate email address and said that this is already in the system. You can see a little screenshot there of what that looks like. And I think that's definitely something we want to highlight today. If you are a Virtuous user, that is one way to help you avoid duplicates. And it's a great option just built right into Virtuous. All right, let's go to our next, go to our next one here. All right, same question. Is this a duplicate? Just give you all a second. I see the votes coming in. I keep getting too impatient and saying numbers too soon, so.
We are years behind on our prospect status on the Terry Jones on our left. We acknowledge that.
Yes, yes. And this is all fake data. We are not showing real details of real people, just to make sure we're clear. All right, so we have 77% of you saying that this is unknown if it's a duplicate, and 23% of you saying, yes, this is a duplicate. I think I would actually lean to saying unknown, and that is really just because we don't have much information at all on Terry Jones, and it is possible it could be a different person. However, if this was your database and you knew the people involved and you had access to additional information that could tell you that this is the same Terry Jones, this very well could be a duplicate. So I think it's important to say that as a, knowing what we see here, unknown is probably the answer I would lean to, but it is possible as well. So, all right.
Yeah, and this is a good example for our Razor's Edge users, we're paying by record band, and this is a great example of a record that we can do a little bit more research on and do our due diligence now and potentially save a record by merging these together.
Absolutely. All right, next.
Oops.
So this one we're not actually going to do a poll for, but we did want to bring up this. Oh, we do have a poll. Well, we're going to do a poll then. Sorry, I missed communication. Right. So for this one, are these duplicate records? And that would be if you think any of these three would be a duplicate of the others. Since there's three different options here, we'll do you answer yes for all or no for all, however you'd like to go. So go ahead and I'll let you vote for the last one.
I think we ended that question, Christine. We can just talk.
Oh, I think we did. Okay, sorry. My numbers are saying 0, so I wasn't. Yeah. It was showing me something weird. Okay, sorry. We'll keep going. So I'll just go ahead and talk about this one. And this is one that I feel like comes up a lot when I'm talking to clients. So I think it's an important piece to mention. So I went into my Razor's Edge web view and I searched for Kevin Wood. And when I did, I got 3 different records. They're all at the exact same address. And so I do meet people who would say, look at all these duplicates. I have 3 records here for Kevin Wood. Well, the reality is in this situation, Kevin is probably a very generous donor. He's giving personally. Absolutely. He's giving personally. He's giving through his family foundation, and he has a very lucrative lumber company, and they're giving from the company as well. And while I may want to soft credit those gifts and be able to see all of them connected to Kevin, at the end of the day, these are all separate legal entities. And I do want to see that money separately because they are different entities. So while people often would say these are duplicates, I would strongly argue they're not. So Kevin, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
Yes. So what is a duplicate record? I feel like we've talked, this has always been kind of talking about is what is it, but there's one important thing that I wanted to mention on this slide. A duplicate record, 2 or more records that represent the exact same thing. And I didn't say person, I didn't say organization, I said the exact same thing, because we often think about individuals and organizations, constituent records, contact records, but what we see a lot as well is duplicated campaigns, funds, appeals, and projects. So the one thing that I want to note here is that last number 3 there. Having an established and documented naming convention helps reduce our duplication. And I always talk about, when we talk about documentation, that it's not written in stone. It's something that you need to look at every year. But having this naming convention helps, because I'm a new data entry person, and I'm going to enter our annual fund campaign for this year. So I'm going to call it Annual Fund 2024. But my predecessor last year, they called it 2024 Annual Fund instead of Annual Fund 2024. And now we've got duplicate campaigns for the same exact thing. So having something documented and making sure everyone understands why we name things what we do. And that goes for individual records as well. When we talk about, do we put titles or suffixes in our addressee and salutations? Just having all these things and everyone understanding what the process is will really help. when we talk about putting together a mailing list, I'm going to pull up an Excel document because this is a very basic mailing list that I pulled out of our test environment, and it's something that we're all probably used to. And when we talk about duplicate records, we also want to talk about what we do with this spreadsheet before it goes to the mail house or before we hit print. So typically, maybe something that we're used to is doing some conditional formatting. And if you're not used to it, I'm gonna show you some conditional formatting, and that's where we want to look at our address lines, because we only want to send our magazine once per household, right? Once for every house. And so we can identify those duplicates by doing some conditional formatting. So I highlighted the address column, go up to conditional formatting, and there's a highlight cells rule. This is really nice. We have duplicate values. So it says, hey, let's turn all of the cells dark red that are duplicated. So we hit OK. And as we scroll down here, we can see, yeah, absolutely. We've got duplicated addresses. Makes it really easy to clean this up before we send it to the mail house. But one additional thing that we can do here to do a little bit more due diligence is I want you to pay attention to row 7 and 8. So this is a duplicated address. Yes, we don't need to put up a poll up for this. We can see that last name's the same, address is the same, but we've got one that's a DR period and one that's a drive. So one additional test we can do, and this will be included in our documentation that we send out to you. I'll include this formula, but one kind of formula that we can do here is to kind of compare ourselves. And so what I do is I sort this spreadsheet by address line, and then we just put a formula in here. So I'm kind of going to talk through the formula a little bit, but you can kind of see what I'm typing out. So this is just going to be an if statement. And so I'm going to say if the first 8 characters of this cell equal the first 8 characters of this cell, put a 1 here. Okay. So this says false right away because the first 8 characters of this address don't match the first 8 characters of this address. But when I run this formula all the way down, it will draw out these ones that are duplicate that weren't caught by the conditional formatting. Okay, so it makes it really easy to kind of just visually see, go down the line and see, oh, here's a 1. Let me look at these 2 addresses. These are not duplicates. I can ignore them because the suite's different. I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. Oh, I found another one because the DR is abbreviated, not the drive. Okay, so a couple of extra things to do in that Excel document before you send it to the printer.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. So I love that example, and that actually is a bit of what I was talking about on number 2. But I think the other piece to that, besides just reviewing that spreadsheet when you do this, every CRM I've ever been in has had a duplicate management option. Now, there are always algorithms, and there's some that you can control more than others, but make a plan to regularly run that. I think that's one of those really obvious things that we all know we need to do, but we get busy and we just don't make the time to do it. So when I say make a plan to regularly use it, I would say in that, make a plan for times when you know you have a little more time. I'd say during your slow time, but I've been in the nonprofit world since 2005, and I have yet to figure out when the slow times are. But you can make some time on your calendar and make that a priority. I would make sure to do that regularly. I would also do it before you know you're doing a mailing. That's always a good time to run that tool, make that a practice. Run your mailing list about a week before you actually need to run your mailing list, so you have time to review all these things like Kevin just showed you. There are definitely lots of Excel formulas you could use within that. I think the one Kevin showed is a great place to start. If you are experienced in Excel, you may add some more in, or you may find some other things that help. Look at the names, or look at what other variables that you see there. And then the last thing, and this is something I've done regularly as a data manager, is, again, I would build into my schedule some time where I would pull a query if I'm in Razor's Edge of who are my records in Razor's Edge, and sort them and just kind of look for, where do I maybe have some typos in names that are making this not catch in my duplicate management tool. Maybe I have nicknames and first names instead of just in the nickname field, and so it's not catching them. And I think just kind of building that into your practice helps you identify things along the way. It's never perfect. You always have things slip through, but as proactive as you can be, you'll be able to get this under control a bit more. Kevin, oh, thanks. I was going to say, I think it's me, but I was ready for the next slide. Sorry. So because of, I already mentioned Razor's Edge a little bit, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about merging duplicates in Razor's Edge. I am going to focus today on working with this in the web view. And we are going to go from the NXT web view merge tool to start. Now, I know not everybody is in WebView yet. So obviously, if you are not, you can absolutely still merge in database view. The main reason I want to start here today is because for those of you who are in WebView, if you are using attachments in WebView, you definitely need to be merging in WebView. If you are not using attachments at all in WebView, you definitely can merge in database view if you want to, if you're more comfortable there. I do think it's worth learning this option because I think this is a nice seamless tool and it does catch different duplicates than the database view tool does. So it's always worth looking at both of them. Let's go to data health and let's take a look at a duplicate that we have in our system. So we go to that tools, that data health, we're going to go down to our possible duplicates. It's regularly updating that for you in the background. We've got 3 here, but I'm going to focus our efforts today on Melba Richards. So when we come to that row, if we click on that little ellipses to the left of the records, we can either compare them or we can say these are not duplicates. So if I knew these records and I knew, oh, no, I do have 2 Melba Richards, the mother and the daughter have the same name, they live at the same house, they're 2 different people. I can mark they're not duplicates, they won't keep showing up. I know that these are duplicates. I made them to be duplicates for today's webinar. So let's click on compare records and we will take a look as if I did not know I made them to be duplicated. So this does bring our screen up so we can do a very nice side-by-side comparison of the 2 records. And we do have some different information on these records. So the record on the left is Melba Richards, she's a board member and she's married to Art. And we can see some different history on her record there. We've got that address. We've got some giving history. I see that on our timeline. If we look at Melba Richards on the right, here in her addressee, we can see she's a doctor. Kevin is her solicitor, so that's important information. We've got her former employment information and a bunch of different pieces. So there's data for us on both sides that's really quite different, but we can see the address is the same, and we're going to assume that we're going to go with the fact that this is the same person based on all the different pieces that do line up. So again, we do have that choice to select data to merge or mark not duplicates. Now, when we get to this screen, that source and target is important because that's how we determine which record is going to be the primary at the end. So the target is the one that's going to be the primary at the end. It's the one that we're keeping. So you want to pick whichever record is the most accurate and is the one you want to save at the end. I think we can save the one that we have on the right. I think they both have enough information on each side that I would keep that. But if you wanted to switch it, that button at the very top, right under the source and target, that's where you can switch back and forth which record you want to highlight. Now, the middle section there, I do want to make a quick point to highlight. You can go through this and just check the boxes that you want to move from the source record to the target record. And that will help you avoid some of the duplicate data like Kevin mentioned earlier. Seeing maybe a duplicate constituent code if both records had the same constituent code or things like that. I typically leave everything there. I merge all the data into the target record and then I open the target record and I clean it up. That is a personal preference, but for me, that feels like the safest way to make sure that I don't accidentally uncheck a box that I didn't want to uncheck. So that's not a hard and fast rule. That's just been my best practice. Kevin, go ahead and let's merge those records in the bottom left-hand corner there. So you can see now Melba has come off of my duplicate list. If we go to that merged duplicates tab, we can see Melba is now on the list with quite a few other duplicates that I've merged. I can see when I merged it. If I go into database view, I can open that Melba Richards record The one record that was our source is now an inactive record. So that record 211, it's the top one, is now inactive. So this record we can absolutely delete because we know that we've merged it. And then I would open up the other record and just do a little bit of housekeeping to make sure that there's nothing duplicated, like I said. If we happen to have multiple of the same constituent code or maybe the same email address, things like that, that we want to make sure is cleaned up. Now, if you are merging multiple at once, you can absolutely create a static list. You can delete them in a group. We're not going to go ahead and show you that today just because of time, but I do want to mention that that is a possibility from that screen. Kevin, I'm going to pass it to you to talk about Virtuous.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so merging in Virtuous, kind of a similar experience. This is our dashboard that we see when we log in, and there is a section for data health called the same thing. It's kind of nice. So we can click on data health. This will come up, kind of automatically to the merge contact screen. This will, excuse me, this will show the list of your possible duplicates from the last time you were in it. So you can absolutely go off this list. You can also go up to actions and rescan your database. This might take a little bit longer, depending on how many records you have. So I'm not going to do it, but this will rescan. Now, there are 3 different ways of merging records in Virtuous. We're just going to go through 2. I'll talk about the third, but we're just going to show you 2. So this is the first one. We kind of go through this duplicate search. And when we click on this arrow here, we'll see the 2 records that it thinks are duplicates, and it'll tell you what it found on. So this matching qualifier was on address, and we can see the name is the same, address is the same, and so we're going to go with this as being a duplicate record. So we're going to compare these records again, and this source and target is kind of similar. But we just have a radio button up here, and we get to pick which record we want to keep. So we can decide which one, and again, gives you a side-by-side comparison to figure out what's the best, what record do you want to keep. It could be oldest record, it could be newest gift, number of different things. Again, document this policy so that it makes this an easy decision on which record you want to keep. So we go ahead and pick this, and we can check also what fields we want to keep in that newly formed record. So we can kind of go through those check boxes, and then when we get down to the bottom and we have it figured out, we can hit merge. Okay, so that's one way of merging duplicates, is using the duplicate search. It says it's been successfully merged. That's great, and the old record has been archived. The other way is going under actions and manually merging contacts. Now this is going to ask for 2 IDs. And so this is when you kind of find two duplicate records out in the wild, and you grab their IDs. You can come in here and pick them. And let me just go back to that really quickly. And we can put in 1415 and 2083, I know, are 2 duplicates, and it brings up that same screen. Okay. So that's another way. The third way is doing it in a bulk merge. This is a bigger can of worms this is importing a list of record contact IDs and doing it that way, kind of all at once. There's a knowledge base about that, and we're not going to talk about that way, but that is a way to merge a whole bunch of records all at once. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's jump back into I know we are right up against it on the time.
Yes.
So I think that is it. Christine, you want to touch on these really quickly?
Yes, and we had one question that I did answer. Somebody asked if we could use a query to narrow down what we're searching for in Razor's Edge, like in a city. Unfortunately, we don't have the control in either WebView or Database View to determine who's searched for in duplicates, but I would do that myself. I would create a query and review it. We did want to mention a couple of resources to help you get merging under control. Blackbaud does have a mass merge plugin, sorry. Omatic has a tool called Merge-O-Matic, and they do have a free trial of that, just to say that's a great way to try it out. Zeidman has a tool for merging as well called the Mergician, but the Zeidman tool is only if you're self-hosted. So just want to make that caveat before you reach out to them, and that's what they'll tell you. We also have thrown a couple of other links here, and this will be in the slide deck that we send out, for knowledge base articles in Blackbaud for merging, as well as in Virtuous. So just a couple of resources to point you all to.
Yeah. And I will note the mass merge plugin from Blackbaud is an additional cost. So contact
Yes.
your customer success manager, your account exec, to get pricing on that. But that is, again, kind of similar to Virtuous. That is a way to merge a whole bunch of records all at once. Cool. So we will stay on. I know we're 2 minutes over time. We will stay on to answer any additional questions in the chat. And also, I just wanted to talk about our services as well. We're a services organization. So Christine is a Razor's Edge consultant, and will is in the process of learning Virtuous. I do Razor's Edge and Virtuous consulting. So if you have a need for training for data projects or anything related to that, please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. Our email addresses are there. Connect with us on LinkedIn. We love expanding our network to other database managers. So yeah, I think that'll wrap us up for today. And we want to thank everyone. This will take place the fourth Wednesday of every month. Next month, we are going to be having on the founder and CEO of Trellis, which is an auction management software that integrates with Razor's Edge. So if you have any Gala specific questions or just want some more information about managing your Gala, you can tune in next month. And for April, we will be having on Omatic. So we will be talking more about the Omatic products. So thank you all very much. We will stay on for a couple more minutes and answer any questions. Yes, Melissa, Trellis is auction management software that integrates with Razor's Edge. So if you run a gala and have a mobile bidding, silent auction, live auction, check us out next week, and we'll be having some more information about Trellis.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.